A group of experts in various fields of health, both scientists and healers, conducted research on distance healing at a clinic in Newport Beach, California. We investigated the effects of distance healing on people who suffer from various ailments in order to illustrate the existence of external qi. In particular, we present to you our data taken from several different scientific instruments. Quantitative EEG, which measures and records brainwave activity, SPECT, which images the physiology of the brain, and infrared, which maps temperature distribution along the surface of the skin. We show that the external qi emitted by expert healers causes biological changes in the people studied. We required that the healer not touch the subject at all. We used scientific rigor. We invite you to see for yourself, but we ask you to reconsider these effects as explainable by contemporary science. Dr. James Fallon is a professor of anatomy and neurobiology for the School of Medicine at the University of California at Irvine.
Before and after Qigong treatment, could you see a shift in the EEG pattern and a change in skin temperature IR? With the infrared spectroscopy, we see a difference in brain metabolism, so we'll see. And if there's something there that looks to a reasonable person, to a reasonable scientist, because even in any study, 100% or 75%, it's never like that. We have to be reasonable about it. Does it look encouraging to go on and say, look, can we design an experiment with a set of patients or subjects with a certain anomaly and ask the Qigong masters, can you treat this kind of disorder?
Dr. Tatsuo Hirano is a doctor of Oriental medicine, licensed acupuncturist, and CEO and president of Energetics for Health Incorporated.
And in Chinese medicine or Oriental medicine, we work with an intrinsic energy we call qi. But intrinsic is somewhat limited. It is something intrinsic within the universe, we say, that permeates all things. So therefore, what we work with to restore health using this energy we call qi is also intrinsic, micro within self and macro that's throughout.
Dr. Daniel Amen is a psychiatrist, the medical director of the Amen Clinics Incorporated, best-selling author, and an assistant clinical professor of psychiatry and human behavior for the School of Medicine at the University of California at Irvine.
Distant healing is very interesting. The scientist in me is skeptical, but I think there's so much that we don't know that it's an area that's potentially very exciting.
Dr. Chris Hanks is the Director of Research and Information Systems at the Amen Clinics Incorporated.
All right, well, I don't have too much familiarity with energy healing or remote healing. Trained as a data analyst and in the scientific method, I'm highly skeptical of this stuff. But after having looked at the first round of data, it kind of blew me away. What we saw was overall global perfusion post Qigong, and the images are just stunning. I've never seen anything like it, and I've looked at thousands of scans in the last couple of years.
Dr. Shui-Yin Lo is a theoretical physicist, the director of Quantum Health Research Institute, former visiting professor and researcher of chemistry and physics at the California Institute of Technology, Stanford University, and Oxford University, and current professor of research in Chinese medicine.
The body, inside the human body is a very complex program. So having external qi that come from a healer to our patients that make it clean, and it's subject to physical studies, and the qi now is become a real object. It's basically photons and phonons and possibly other things. Then the whole healing process is a physical biological phenomena and subject to the study of physics, biology, and biochemistries.
Dr. Yi Jin is an adjunct professor with the Department of Psychiatry and Human Behavior and is the director of the Behavioral EEG Lab for the School of Medicine at the University of California at Irvine.
As a scientist, I want to see the hard evidence. So I think that this is a good chance for us to put things together and see if we can document this and then we can demonstrate the effect of it.
In order to assess the impact of these non-touch treatments, we used a small group diagnosed with attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. Our intention is to demonstrate a real and consistent effect of distance healing and work towards establishing an understanding of the underlying functional mechanism.
Close to your head, slowly rotate around it, and we get a really cool picture of activity, where we see good areas of activity, areas that are too low, and areas that are too high.
During this study, Dr. Tatsuo Hirano either simulated or actually administered the distance healing treatments to the subjects from the corner of a closed room. In order to nullify influences from any wishful thinking or placebo effect, only the researchers, not the subjects, were kept abreast as to when the treatment was truly being provided. An infrared camera was used to map the distribution of the subject's skin surface temperatures before and after each treatment. EEG readings were used to monitor and record changes in activity of the subject's brain waves before, during, and after the treatments. SPECT scans were taken prior to and then 24 hours after the treatments to capture detailed physiological profiles of the subject's brains. The resulting diagnostic measurements, regarded as indicators of various bodily functions, were tabulated, compared, and interpreted by their respective experts.
Well, in my first look at this EEG data, there are some familiar characters and there are some surprises. But really one of the main surprises here is the consistency of the data in this 7 subjects. It looks like from the EEG that everybody is going from this alpha activity to this highly activated cortical activity of what would be, highly attentive, aware situation.
What we found, we did initial data collection on 4 subjects and found that before the Qigong treatment, their brains looked about like everybody else's brains normally do. But after the treatment, we saw significant perfusion throughout the cerebral cortex.
For every subject, we see changes, and this is a direct evidence for the existence of Qi. And the changes is general from disorderly to orderly, from much more variation of temperature to less variation of the temperature on the surface, and from a higher temperature to a lower temperatures. And this basically means the Qigong is restoring the body to a more healthy state.
Is there a rational explanation of this healing through what many would call empty space? Dr. Lowe, a quantum physicist in particle physics, has recently formulated a biophysics basis for the potential mechanisms behind some ordinarily non-tangible topics, such as acupuncture and Qi.
External Qi emitted from Qigong masters has at least 2 components: low-frequency electromagnetic waves and subsonic sound waves. The frequency of these waves is most likely in the range of 0.1 Hz to 100 Hz. This is the same type of frequency range that acupuncturists use in electroacupuncture. This suggests that these kinds of waves can possibly detect using existing technology in the form of instrument placed between the Qigong master and the patient. We may be able to quantify that waves are detected when healing starts and waves are not detected when healing stops.
According to Dr. Lowe, it is possible to formulate a quantum field theory for external qi. This theory can be made as rigorous as the theories governing light or sound. Qi then becomes a rigorous, testable entity, like light and sound. We have done preliminary research that suggests further investigation. With properly funded research, we will determine what legitimate and reproducible mechanism is at work. This understanding may also shed light on thousands of years of debatable folklore enshrouding the many traditional examples and accounts of non-touch healing. With adequate financial resources, we plan to investigate the exciting possibilities of a scientific understanding of qi.